Nick Bain, the Mississippi House of Representatives, or at least a little while longer. Good morning, sir. How are you? It's good to have you. Thank you for
Hey,
joining us.
Paul. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate you having me.
You got it. Let me. I said I was going to do this, Nick. So just the people behind, and I mentioned this guy from Rabin Consulting Group, who represents Free Speech Coalition, the trade association of the pornographic industry. Bloomberg's gun control efforts, also represents the Islamic Relief Worldwide, and that's been accused of funding Hamas and several other real radical groups. Why would he give money to a Mississippi candidate to become governor of Mississippi? And not only him, former Democratic Majority Leader Tom Daschle, who was defeated in re-election. Barack wanted Daschle, and I'll remember this, to be a Secretary of Health and Human Services, and he had to withdraw his name because of his failure to properly report and pay his income taxes. And one more, and there's a long list here, a name that it's still out there, Barney Frank, one of the main players in the banking crisis, that passed laws that caused bankruptcies by the hundreds and thousands of people lost their homes, bad legislation on loans. Not to mention Barney Frank is the most famous homosexual in Congress, and his boyfriend was running a prostitution ring from Barney's house. He's all in for Mississippi's Brandon Presley. What do these people want? And you've been in office now for a few years. When somebody gives you money, do they say, I'm giving it to you, Nick, because we love you? Or they're giving it to you because they want your political ideology to be carried out in office?
Well, that's something that you always struggle with as a politician, as an elected official. Somebody gives you money, are they trying to curry favors? There's a famous saying, I think Steve Holland said. He said, if I can't eat your steak and vote against you, then I don't need to be in office. Which how Holland was. But anyway, yeah, I think there's some of that. I think there's some, and that's the biggest thing. You've hit the nail on the head that Brandon's got to get over is that image of national Democrats. And I think either you said or somebody, or maybe Sid Salter earlier, 80% of his money's coming from outside of Mississippi. That's a tremendous amount of money, and absolutely, I think they're trying to influence him. Now Brandon can say what he wants to say. Tate can say what they want to say. Certainly, when people are giving you that amount of money, you do try to, I guess, listen to them a little bit more. But it's a tremendous thing to have that much money coming in on a Mississippi Democrat election.
Yeah.
I guess that means they think they can win it, Paul.
Well, I would hope so, because if they didn't, they just pour money out. They're not putting that money in there for no apparent reason. And I also think, and we mentioned this yesterday, that there's not a lot of people in the starting lineup past Brandon as far as the Democrats are concerned. You had Jim Hood, and Jim Hood was the hope of the new Democrat Party. And the Democrat Party is now more of a coalition of the Black Caucus and very few grassroots hometown offices anymore in the state of Mississippi as far as Caucasian Americans. So we have that divide going on there. Another person who is on the list was a former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick, who's put a lot of money into this race. For a bit of insight on him, he was the first African-American governor of Massachusetts, and he was Obama's lead outsider to run for president before Biden committed. And when that story broke, the state headlines in his state was, this was posted on USA Today, will Deval Patrick be president? Not if his past scandals have anything to say about it, and there were a long list of scandals there. So all of these people are pouring money into the Mississippi gubernatorial election. I did mention yesterday, Nick, a lot of this, I think, in the $10 million plus that Brandon has gotten, I think a lot of that was juiced up a little bit after they lost, and I mean the Democrats, lost the governorship in Louisiana. So as far as the South is concerned, Mississippi is important to them now.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's no doubt it is, and the demographics of Mississippi make it in play. And I just still, though, I just can't see it. I can't see somebody voting Mississippi in bulk voting for a Democrat. I just people. I was one for 6 years, as you recall, in the legislature, and that's what I heard all the time. He said, "If we love you, we like you, but you got that D next to your name, and we don't like that part of you." And that was one of the reasons why I switched. Not only because of that, because of the extreme of the party had become. And I think that's what everybody sees is the National Democrat Party. This isn't your grandfather's Democrat.
No, it's far from it, and it's not John Kennedy's, the president's party any longer either. I go back and there's a lot of comments, and I think it's also integrated in Brandon Presley, some of his ads. People don't trust Tate Reeves. Of course, if you say that, rather if it's true or not, I'm sure there's some people who don't. But by and large, you put that face value and you sit there and ask that person, regardless of what their political ideology or party is, and you say, well, wait a minute, I know that this is put forth on every ad that you see, but think for yourself. He's been in office 8 years, handling the money of the state of Mississippi as a much younger individual, and for 8 years he did an excellent job as the state treasurer. Did you trust him there? Did you have any problems there? How about 8 more years as the lieutenant governor? Was that ever a problem? Did Brandon Presley ever said we don't trust him then? Or 4 years as the governor with remarkable progress through some very, very torrid times, from a pandemic to flood to hurricanes? Did you trust him there? So I just, and I think most of the people in this audience think for themselves, but there are some people who don't. You can make a sell, and 5 minutes later somebody turns you. You can make a sell for Coca-Cola, and then somebody offers you a Pepsi outside, and you drink it. So it's a little aggravating. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, whether you like the governor, you don't like the governor, you think he's personable, he's not personable, you can't really argue with the results that have happened the last really 12 years as lieutenant governor and as governor. Education has improved. Yesterday or the day before, there was a new economic development job down in Columbus that was announced. So you can't really argue with the results. Now, Brandon's a phenomenal politician. I think that's fair to say. He's very good on the stump.
Absolutely.
He's very good with people. Yeah. And he's probably better at that than Tate. But when you look at the results, you look at all the collateral stuff, you can't argue
hang on for a moment.
The success that he's had.
We got a break coming up. I want to ask you more about this one because do you pick your doctor on personality? Do you pick your financial advisor on personality? I guess it does matter to you, but results matter more. Back with more in our studios with Nick Bain. Here's a couple of more. Queasy Chapin, big donator in that 80% of the money coming from out of state. Queasy is Reparations Program Director, Decolonizing Wealth Project, which sent quite a bit of money to Brandon Reeves of Nettleton, Mississippi. It supports reparatory justice initiatives across the country. He recently said this: the check won't solve everything because of how the system is made to drain black wealth, whether it be through taxes and liens and police systemically pulling people over, insurance companies and dead health, or health debt. Those are just some of the people behind the scenes that you should know about. But 80% of the fuel in this tank is being bought by people out of state, and I think it does matter, and I think it matters to the people of Mississippi. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a big problem. The whole issue is, the Democratic Party has gotten so far left, the National Democrats are so far left, and this national money, that's something that certainly is going to hurt Brandon. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Well, another thing, too, you haven't seen him condemn anything. I haven't. Maybe I've missed it somewhere. He hasn't condemned what the president's done on the border. He hasn't condemned any of the things. And I read this quote he made about gender modification and dysphoria and all of this. And I read that quote, which he later said that he was not for that at all. But the quote he gave at the Neshoba County Fair said, I'd leave that to the mamas and daddies. I trust them, period. That was kind of a watered-down response to that, which he had to come back and change it. But those issues are pretty big for the people of this state. And I don't care what you say. I know one of the things that the people want who put this money in here, they want to make some inroads on the abortion of convenience. They want that gender modification, I call it gender mutilation. They want that to progress in the state of Mississippi. They want to drop voter ID, and they want to turn the state purple. And as you alluded to, and people need to know this, we're not that far percentage-wise from doing that.
Yeah, I handled the transgender bill on the floor of the House, and we had about a 3-4 hour debate on it, and that was all Democrats asking me questions. So that is certainly an agenda item of the National Democrats. And to me, like you said, it's mutilation. It made perfect sense that a child under the age of 18 shouldn't be exposed to something that's irreparable for them for the rest of their life. And you're exactly right. He hasn't condemned that. He's condemned a lot about what Tate Reeves has done, and I get that, and that's the politics of it. And to your point about the money coming in, and to come full circle here, you asked if that matters. I think Brandon would help him if he came in and said, "Yeah, I'm taking all this money, but they're not going to control what I do as governor." That hasn't been said. So you're exactly right. All we've heard is what he wants what Tate has not done. But with that said, Brandon's where I'm up here in Northeast Mississippi. He's got some support, I will say this. I will say this: there is a bit of a anti-incumbency out there. I saw that in my race, and it's an interesting dynamic up here in rural North Mississippi. You got Brandon Presley signs and Donald Trump signs in the same yard. So it's. I still though, Paul. I still. It is. It really is. And I still, Paul, just don't think that until Mississippi doesn't vote for a Republican, I can't see. Until that happens, I'm not going to believe a Democrat can be elected.
One of the personal things about it, and this is just me personally, I think I would have seizures if I went in knowing that my vote for Brandon Presley to be Democrat governor of the state of Mississippi would make the day for people like Eric Swalwell, Joe Biden. It would be elated. It would be an orgasmic event for Nancy Pelosi, for AOC, for all of these Democrats out there to know that they have done that to the state of Mississippi. I could not be anyone, forget about political party, conservative faith, family, and flags, and pull that lever and understand I'm giving them that orgasmic moment. I just couldn't do it. Nick, thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul.